Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today we're going to be talking about the Virginia gubernatorial election in 2021. We're just roughly 3 weeks out from this election, and polls recently have shown a uprise for Youngkin and not so much a downrise for Terry McAuliffe, but more or less a closer race in the two for the two candidates. But what I think is interesting in this race is I obviously have a report right now saying tight race in Virginia's gubernatorial showdown with 3 weeks until the election, and this was published one day ago. And today is currently October 13th, so it is roughly less than 3 weeks away from this election. But I find this election to be interesting, right? We have New Jersey, right? The race in New Jersey is happening this year as well, but it's not as close as this one. And I think one of the things that makes this interesting is President Biden is unpopular, and even Terry McAuliffe said in a video, he said President Biden is unpopular in the state of Virginia, ultimately resulting in low turnout for Democrats. Democrats are not excited about this race. And Terry McAuliffe was a former governor of the state of Virginia and is not attracting people as he was when he ran back in 2013. And remind you, all of this is going on in the middle of the Delta variant of COVID-19 and vaccine mandates and so many other things that are pressing voters to the polls. And if you just continue to read this, right, President Biden won the state of Virginia by 10 points in the general election in 2020. And you can even look at that right here. This shows President Biden wins by over 10 points. And if you take a look at some of these smaller, tiny counties in Virginia, the turnout in some of these is way lower than it is in the southwestern portion of Virginia. But to continue on, looking at this article and looking at other articles that I have pulled up, this race is a lot closer than anyone expected it to be. And honestly, just to be real with you, one of the news sources or polling sources has made this back into a undecided column, right? They don't know. It has been labeled lean Democratic in a few polls, but a few people do have it as a toss-up, and I find that very interesting. Terry McAuliffe ran for governor in 2013, and right after President Obama won his election in 2012 to Mitt Romney. He was, President Obama was popular, but he was not in a state of popularity like we've seen in other cases, like the beginning of President Biden's term. Obviously, President Biden has shifted in his approval rating, but you can tell that voters are not too excited about this race. And really, in all reality, the 2013 governor's election was a lot closer as well. I mean, nothing too close, but it was a lot closer. And as you can see, Obama is to campaign with McAuliffe in the governor's race, and I believe this is supposed to happen next week. Former President Barack Obama will campaign with fellow Democratic Terry McAuliffe in the final stretch of the Virginia governor's race. And I find it interesting because at the beginning of this race, no one really thought it was possible for Glenn Youngkin to win. Back in September, when I predicted, I didn't necessarily predict that Glenn Youngkin would win, but I did predict that it would be a closer race. I got a lot of heat from that, and I got a lot of people telling me, no, it's not going to be a close race. Terry McAuliffe has already won it, and I don't think that's true. I think it's still too close, and we just will not be able to tell until election night. If we take a look at this, the polling numbers show that Terry McAuliffe, in the most recent poll, Terry McAuliffe was up 3 percentage points to Glenn Youngkin. Obviously, it is good that he is up for the McAuliffe campaign for the Democrats, but Glenn Youngkin is right behind him, and Glenn Youngkin has been a lot closer than he has in the past. If you go into towards the middle, not necessarily the middle, but towards the middle of September, you see Glenn Youngkin falling off with the 40% 40 percentage points of Virginia voters voting for him around that time. But he has shot right back up, and he is now at 47%. And this is not the highest point that we've seen him, but one of the highest points that we've seen him. And Terry McAuliffe just hit 50% in a poll that was posted for October 4th through 11th. And this race is a lot closer than anyone really expected. And if we continue up here, if we go up to the very top, this election happens on November 2nd, 2021. If we go back to the 2017 governor's race, Ralph Northam won this race by almost 9 percentage points, very close to 9. But if we go back to 2013, when Terry McAuliffe ran, this race was a lot closer. You know, Terry McAuliffe won by 2.5 percentage points. And, you know, I mean, that's still a good win for Terry McAuliffe, but it's still very close. And this was in the middle of President Obama's second term, right? It was 1 year after his 2012 election. And, you know, this election was very interesting. It was very close. And Terry McAuliffe was the first person, or one of the first people, I can't completely remember, I'm sorry about that, but he was one of the first people to ever win the Virginia governor's race while having the incumbent party of the White House in as well, which I found fascinating. So if he loses in 2021, he will have broken that tie. Obviously, Glenn Youngkin has become more popular in recent weeks. And it goes to show that, you know, Terry McAuliffe is going to have to pick up his game and continue to fight it out. And Glenn Youngkin is going to have to do the exact same thing. He's going to have to continue to fight it out. But I do think that Glenn Youngkin could win this race. Do I think he will? I have no idea. But it is a lot closer than I think anyone has really expected at this point. And it's very interesting to watch this race play out. And I'm very interested to see what happens on November 2nd, on election night in Virginia. As a Virginian myself, I find this race to be fascinating. I know a lot of you all may be thinking, oh my goodness, he's covering this race again. But yes, I think I'm going to be covering this race quite a bit and up until the election, because I just find it so interesting on everything that's going on in Virginia. And the fact that a state that Joe Biden won by 10 percentage points could flip right back to Glenn Youngkin, a Republican, in 2021, just 1 year later. After Joe Biden's approval rating has shifted, it's been interesting. And if we, just for a second, I'm going to, sorry, wrong tab. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the 2009 governor's race, where Bob McDonnell won this race, right? He won it by, shockingly, a big number, right? He won this race by a big number, honestly. And I think that's interesting, because this was right after Joe Biden was elected vice president with President Obama. This was just 1 year after they had been elected the president and vice president. So it is possible for a Republican to win. The last time that they won was in 2009. And it is possible in 2020 that we see a Governor Youngkin. What would I say the chances is? I wouldn't quite say that yet, because I think it's just about too close to even tell at this point. But I'm gonna go down here just for a second to look at something really quick, if I could. Sorry, it's taking me just a minute. I don't want to skip through it. Right here, the crooked. I meant the Cook Political Report has this as a toss-up state, right? As of October 5th, they have it as a toss-up state. And Inside Elections has it as a lean Democratic state. But I just don't agree with that. I believe that this is going to be a toss-up race, and I believe every second of this race counts. And anything that can happen to help Terry McAuliffe, he needs. But Youngkin, is picking up on that speed. And if we go back to the last governor's debate, happened at the end of September, Terry McAuliffe said something that really struck out of nowhere for Virginia voters, which ultimately, I believe, has resulted in his decline in popularity and decline in the chances of him winning this race. And he said, and quote, "I don't believe parents should be telling the schools what to teach," end quote. And I found that very interesting. And I knew the minute that he said that, I was watching it live, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, that is one of the worst things that you could have said on your campaign trail, because Youngkin has used that in an extent that has been wonderful for him. I think that he's done what's right. He used it like he should have, which has ultimately helped his numbers. And we will continue to see what happens. Like I said, I don't know who will win this governor's race. I hope that I can cover this race live on election night, November 2nd, but we will see what happens. And I cannot wait to see how this race plays out in the next few weeks, and I'll be keeping you all updated at least once a week. I will be trying to, at least. But thank you all so much for watching. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. Hit that like button. It helps us go out into the algorithm so that we can get more viewers to know about this race and go out and vote. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today. Give me your thoughts down below in the comments, and I will talk to you all in the next video. See ya.